Good evening, everyone. Captain Marvin Green here. I'm going to be your host for this evening for this Facebook Live admissions informational briefing. If you can hear me, please post where you're from and where you're tuning in from. Okay, Marissa from Indiana. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Great Lakes. Okay, we got another candidate tuned in from Indiana. Great Lakes in the house. Florida. Okay, Southeast. Northeast in New York. Okay, awesome. Thanks again. Thanks for tuning in. Got a lot of great information to put out this evening. So I hope this is informational. If at any point during this presentation you find something useful, please give us a thumbs up. And so I'm currently getting the error message saying that it's having some trouble playing this video. So if you cannot see me, please let me know. We can try to troubleshoot that on our end. Okay, Florida, Colorado. Got some of my friends from admissions. They're monitoring the chat, so as you can see, they're posting. If you got any questions at any point, please post them in the chat, and we'll answer them as we progress through the briefing. Thanks for that, Daniel. That helps out. Well, Carlos, I know this might be a little weird. I'm actually not alone here, and so I'm going to wear the mask until we actually get started on the brief. And got a surprise guest for you all, so that's why I have on the mask. And now we're at about 6 feet. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started tonight. As I said, my name is Captain Marvin Green. I'm going to be your host for this evening's admissions brief. Here's a quick look at our agenda. We're going to talk about the West Point experience, what West Point actually has to offer its candidates. And we're going to talk a little bit about, life, cadet life, and life here at the Military Academy. And then last but not least, I'm going to definitely give you an in-depth overview of the entire applications process. And so we're actually working through the last of the class of 2025. So if you're tuned in and you're a junior, you're looking forward to applying for the class of 2026, this is exactly where you want to be. We're going to put out a lot of great information about the entire applications process, and then some of the benefits of coming to West Point, and deciding you want to be a cadet here. As I mentioned before, I'm not alone. I've got Cadet Evan Walker here with me. She is actually a firstie this year, so she's almost complete with her 47-month experience here at the Academy. She's going to be helping me as we progress through the slides to kind of talk about her cadet experience and some of the things that she's really appreciated and some of the lessons she's learned along the way. This briefing is also, we're going to talk about a little bit about the diversity and outreach candidates. As I mentioned, I'm the diversity admissions officer. And so, the outreach program was started back in 1947, and since then, 1976, and since then, it's progressed into West Point's major diversity recruitment effort. And so my job as the diversity admissions officer is to kind of be the head of the outreach team. We got 5 outreach officers that kind of serve as miniature admissions officers and responsible for each of the 5 regions that we cover within admissions. And their job is to kind of interact with our minority candidates and raise awareness about the academy and all the benefits that that it has to offer. And so one thing that I like to say is that talent is evenly distributed, right? But opportunity isn't. And so it's kind of my job at the academy to try to bridge that gap. Um, quick quick trivia question that I'll pose for the group. In honor of Black History Month, and then just the diversity admissions piece. Who can anyone tell me who the first cadet to graduate from West Point was as an African American? And so I'll continue to monitor the chat to see the answer, and the first person to get this right will send them out a little gift from us here in admissions. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and transition and hand the reins over to Cadet Walker to talk her experience and the things that she's learned along the way. Thanks.
Thanks, sir. So, okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Cadet Evan Walker. I'm from Rowlett, Texas, just east of Dallas. Like Captain Green said, I'm a firstie, so a senior here at the United States Military Academy, class of 2021. I'll be graduating May 22nd and commissioning as a second lieutenant. I'm just here to give my experience during my 47-month experience and just help y'all with any questions you may have. So, West Point is an exciting, challenging, and fulfilling place where cadets are developed into leaders of character. And I think the biggest thing there is develops and leaders of character, because I have grown so much as a leader, as a person, since being at the academy. I have just had so many opportunities and been challenged, and it is challenging, and no one said it's going to be easy, and it hasn't been, but I am very grateful for all of those challenges because it's made me who I am today. So what West Point is about. West Point, choosing a direction in life that places priority on service to our nation. So while it is an awesome place to get an undergraduate from, Bachelor's of Science, in the end, it's commission. Our goal is to commission leaders of character. And so we'll be all graduating and commissioning as second lieutenants in the Army. So the whole West Point experience is focused on producing the best second lieutenants that the Academy can give to the United States Army. Also, challenging, like I said earlier, challenging academically. So it is, like I said earlier, awesome place to get a Bachelor's of Science education. Definitely academically rigorous. We, later on in the slides, will kind of show over our academic layout. But there are plenty of opportunities here while you are getting developed as a leader. You also are getting educated because we want smart leaders. And that's really important in the Army, as well as your physical limits. So we do get physical fitness is something that's really important here, and there is a program to also develop physically. So what West Point offers. So all paid education, get a Bachelor of Science in your major of choice. We have 36 majors. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, tuition, books, fees, room and board. We all live in the barracks. We have approximately 7 barracks, I believe. Medicare, medical care, dental care. Anytime cadets are not feeling well, we can just go down to our Malone Cadet Clinic and get the help we need. It's very quick, it's very easy, and we get taken care of, as well as with dental and anything else we need. And we also, yes, have a monthly stipend. So as you progress in your time at the academy, you do get more. So as a freshman, a plebe, you get $200. As a yearling or a sophomore, you get $250. Once you affirm, and that's where you kind of say, like, hey, I'm dedicated to the Army. I'm going to continue with my 2 years at the academy and commission. That's where you get $475. And then as a firstie, I get paid $575. So everything else is covered. We get 3 meals a day. We get laundry. Everything's covered. Our uniforms. We don't have to buy clothes. So that money can go to literally anything you'd like. A little bit more on what West Point offers. So the top number 1 most successful professors. I think my instructors have had the greatest impact on my development here. While they do push you academically in the classroom, they're also there to help you develop as a leader as well. And so they're all my mentors. They live on post, so like their homes are my homes. And so, like, anytime I need help with like tutorials or anything like that, I can email my instructor, and there will drop anything for us to help us. And so, definitely true when saying that we have the most accessible professors. College Library, Jefferson Library is beautiful. It's 6 floors. Oh, someone asked what company. I'm from company H2. So we are happy as hell. We used to be hellhounds the last couple of years, and now we're back to happy as hell. Um, yes, and so what else? Counseling services. We have a lot of resources here at the academy for overall wellness in general. We have the chaplains who are not just restricted to religious conversations, but overall, just anything you need, they're there to listen, to help you to talk. We have CPD, which is like our counseling services, our more formal counseling services. Every regiment actually just got a marriage and family life counselor who is like a formal counselor, but they don't take notes. They're just there to listen to you as well. And that's their locations are actually within our barracks, so they're right down the hall from the cadets. They don't even have to leave their room, leave their buildings to get some help. As well as we have the sexual assault and harassment program representatives who help in any instances of those cases, as well as cadet representatives for all those different things too. So there's plenty of people, plenty of resources to talk and get the help we need. So West Point offers 100% job placement into your chosen career path. Like I said earlier, we will all be commissioned as second lieutenants, and so you will have a job upon graduating from your undergraduate, which is pretty awesome. Just about 2 weeks ago, me and my classmates got our posts, but last semester in November, we got our branches. It's I branch military intelligence, so I'll be headed to Fort Huachuca after a little bit of time doing some extra school. Oh, I should probably stop for the... Yes. Oh, hi, Mom. So let me see some questions. Oh, ACT.
How does it work with not being able to get SAT scores as COVID kept shutting down? Great question, Daniel. So what we've instituted here at the Academy is a test flexible policy. And what that means is that we're actually allowing candidates to submit their applications with their PSAT scores. And so we'll definitely consider that as we make decisions on that application and their qualification status. Let's see. Do you have to do writing for ACT and SAT? So another great question, Amy. The answer to that is no, because SAT is actually no longer going to produce the test as the writing as a component, and so we can't actually expect candidates to complete that if it's no longer an option. So that goes for both the SAT and the ACT. This was for 2021 sign up. And so obviously, I mean, this informational brief is for anyone that's interested in the Academy, no matter which cycle they're interested or going to participate in. But yeah, so the application deadline for the class of 2025 is actually passed. And so if your candidate is a junior and interested in coming to West Point in the class of 2026, the application for that class is open this past month in January. So that answers your question, Daniel. Parker asks, can you go further in depth when you guys say that soldiers are considered into the prep school if they don't make it into West Point? And so that's another great question, Parker. Our admissions officer, Major J. Kim, is actually our soldiers representative. And so I think in his last briefing, he discussed the prep school's original intent was to allow soldiers that were going to apply to the academy an additional year of prep. Just because it had been a while since they'd been in high school, and so it's originally set up to kind of bridge that gap and to make sure that they were prepared academically to attend West Point and address the rigors of the academic program at the academy. The prep school is going to be considered for candidates that been determined to have some form of academic risk, and so it's not just solely for soldiers. Any applicant should be or could be considered for the preparatory school, and so it's not just an isolated opportunity for the soldiers that are applying. Let's see. Thank you, but he never took the PSAT. And in that case, Daniel, that's something that your individual admissions officer could definitely see if you can address that risk, and see what we could do for that candidate moving forward. We'll get to some more of these questions. We'll go ahead and progress through the rest of the slides, but we'll come back to those if we haven't answered them already.
So to continue on with the job security that West Point offers, on the slide you'll see the list of the 17 branches that we can commission directly into. So like I said earlier, I'm military intelligence, so I'll do a lot of the intelligence and informing commanders on different things as well. But I think the biggest thing here to take away from the slide is that the Army isn't just infantry. It's not just soldiers shooting. There's plenty of jobs, and the way we get selected for those jobs is now like a market model. And so we interview for those positions. They pair us based on our skills. We select what branch we want. The branch says, okay, I like that person. We'll have them too. And ideally we have a 1-for-1 match. That doesn't happen all the time, but it's basically usually how it goes. So it is skill and talent based. And there's plenty more things than just infantry. So now I'll go into about West Point. So this is actually an aerial view of the academy. It's a little outdated because if you see my mouse right here where that parking lot is actually where Davis Barracks is now. And so cadets of our 1st and 2nd Battalions and 1st Regiment live there. It opened up in 2017, so when I was a plebe, a freshman. But as you can see, the buildings are very close. Everything is within walking distance in cadet area. So I live in Eisenhower Barracks. If you can see my mouse right here, and I just walk to class in Thayer right there, or well, right there, and so it's really nice. And down here you see we have a lot of the sporting centers. We have Gillis. We have the football stadium, Shea Stadium for sprint football. Back here is the Cadet Chapel. It's a really beautiful campus. Like I said earlier, I'm from Texas, and so we don't have many trees in Dallas, and so it's beautiful to see the trees. It's beautiful to see the seasons actually changed. Got a lot of snow here recently, but it's a beautiful campus. And so 1802, a lot of the infrastructure here is from that time, and it's just very nice. Legacy of leadership. We've had I think it's really interesting. In one of the rooms in Thayer Hall, or I guess on the walls in Thayer Hall, it's like the history that's taught is by the history that we teach is by the people we taught. And so you can see we have a very robust members of the Long Gray Line and things that they've done. We have Buzz Aldrin, we have President Eisenhower, Benjamin Davis, as well as General West and Coach K. And so this slide is actually the 4 pillars that I kind of referenced earlier about how we are developed holistically. We have the academics, we have physical, so we take a series of physical education courses. Military, we have our military trainings. Every couple of weekends we have it during the academic year, as well as most of our summers are those the endeavors that we do. And then we have our character pillar, which is arguably the most important and most difficult to develop, but character development is integrated into literally everything that we do. Go talk to you a little bit about cadet life. So being a cadet. So I kind of said these terms earlier. West Point has different terms for our classes here. So as a freshman year, you're called a plebe. As a plebe, you are really learning how to be a follower at that point, get acclimated to cadet life, then the military if you haven't been exposed to the military. And it's really just where you learn to follow, learn to listen, do the little things right. And so At that point, you don't have many privileges. You get one pass every semester. Passes where you can leave and stay off post for the weekend. Um, you do knowledge, you do duties, things like that, to just doing the little things right. And so then your sophomore year, you're a yearling. At that point, that's where we kind of get into leadership, different leadership roles. And so at that point, you're a team leader. You're responsible for one or two plebes, and that's the kind of the first exposure to leadership that a lot of us have. And it's really nice. It's you watch out for that plebe. You make sure nothing happens to them. So then your junior year, your Cal year, that's at the beginning, the first day of your Cal year, you affirm, and that's kind of where you say, hey, I'm dedicated to West Point. I'm dedicated to serving in the military after my time here. And that's where you get more leadership opportunities. So you can be a squad leader, responsible for about 10 cadets. You can be a first sergeant, responsible for a company of cadets, about 120. And that's I think a very transformative experience. I learned a lot during my Cal year, during the different leadership experiences I had. And then senior, your firstie, like I said earlier, as you go up in the ranks of the academy, you get more responsibility. So as a senior, most of the Corps of Cadets is ran by the firsties. So I'm the 2nd Regimental Commander, so I am responsible for all the 1,100 cadets within the 2nd Regiment. And so my counterpart is a Cadet Sergeant Major, and so he's a firstie. And the regimental staff, as well as the brigade staff, are made up of mostly firsties and a couple of cows. And so it's just a really awesome model, honestly, to as you're getting more experience, you're developing, you get to practice what you've been learning with more people. And I think that's what's really awesome. Let's see the chat. Okay.
I think we'll run through.
Okay, so a little bit of a typical day. So 5:20 is when we are allowed to be released from our barracks. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to be waking up at 5:20 every day. Depending on if you have morning practice. I'm a member of the boxing team. Go Army Boxing. So when we have morning practices, I do wake up at 5:20. However, everyone is up by around 6:50 because we have morning formation at 7. From formation, the plebes, traditionally before COVID, the plebes would have mandatory breakfast right after that, and then classes start at 7:30. This year, of course, because of COVID, things have shifted a little bit. Classes start at 7:55, but traditionally 7:30 is when classes start. Classes go from 7:30 to 11:50, and then we have another formation at 12 o'clock before mandatory lunch. And so at that point, the entire Corps of Cadets sit down together for lunch, family style, about 12 to a table, and you see how people's days are going. It's really fun. Nice opportunities to catch up with everybody. Then after that, we have some more classes. Classes end at 1600, 4 o'clock, and 16:15, 16:30 is when we head into MacArthur time, which is where a lot of our athletics come in. So on the slide, I think following, we'll talk more about sports. But that's when I go to boxing practice and do boxing practice till about 1800, 1830 or so. And then that's when we head over to shower and then go to dinner. On Thursdays, we had spirit dinner prior to COVID, and that's where the whole Corps would come together on Thursdays and have dinner. The spirit band would play. It would just be getting really pumped and ready for Friday and the weekend, and hopefully during the fall's football game that would come on Saturday. And then after that, 1930 is when evening study period, or ESP, starts, and so that's mainly for the underclassmen, but that's really when everyone buckles down and gets to the homework that we need to get done for hopefully 2 or 3 days ahead, but sometimes the last minute you have to do it for the day following up. And then 23:30 is taps for us, and that's when we're stay in your rooms, wind down, go to bed, but you can certainly go to bed earlier if you're on top of things. Academics. So small class sizes, I think that's what was so attractive to West Point. What made West Point so attractive for me was how small our classes are. Even now, I'm in a class probably 9 to 11 people in every one of my classes, and so it's very intimate. And as a result of that, you get a lot of attention from your instructors. You're not scared to ask questions. They know you on a personal level, and it shows really in the relationship you have with your instructors as well as your peers. So yeah, 30, a lot of civilian instructors as well as Army officers, which helps back to the holistic development as getting to Legion of Character. They've gone through it. They've been some are West Point grads, some aren't, but they have been where we are about to go, and so that helps a lot. Student achievement. So Rhodes, back in November was just awarded the Rhodes Scholarship. So in October of this year, I'll be headed to the University of Oxford to hopefully study comparative social policy for the next 2 years. And so that's kind of why I mentioned I didn't get a post like my peers. I'll get one once I get back from England. But that's just another awesome opportunity that I probably wouldn't have gotten to do had I not gone to West Point. While not everyone is able to apply for graduate scholarships, it is still an option. But there's still so many other academic opportunities here. And so on the topic of academics, we have 36 majors. I'm an operations research major. Go Army math. And but there are so many different majors that captures everyone's interests, as well as 15 minors. So in the event people might be interested in something else, they can always minor in it or double major. There are plenty of people that double major in like history and a language, or do double languages, Arabics and French, or Arabics and Portuguese. So there's plenty of options that you have. Everyone takes a engineering track. So civil engineering, systems engineering, environmental engineering, and nuclear engineering are some of the options that cadets can take. So even though you may be majoring in English, you will still have some math classes. But that just kind of goes back to our whole holistic development. Our core courses. So this is kind of the layout of a general academic schedule, I guess. And so you see your plebe and yearling years, you're taking a lot of core classes, some physical education classes in there. And then as you go to your Cowan first year, after you declared your major, the plebes actually just finished declaring their major. So in February of your second semester, your plebe year is when you declare your major. But as you get to a Cowan first year, that's when you start taking more electives and your majors courses. I think what's just really awesome about West Point is that, while yes, I am a math major, I have taken American politics, I have taken economics and international affairs and history classes, and so I mostly take math, and so I do know math, but I know some other things too, which I think is really valuable. Sports. So we have men's and women's sports. So these are the NCAA Division I teams that we have. Most of those teams are still competing at some level in the COVID environment, and we still get to go out and support them, whether that's at the hockey stadium or down at Shea or Gillis for the track team. Just recently they're fighting. I'm a boxer. they were competing against Navy. But yeah, so and all those people, so their schedules are a little different from the traditional cadets, of course, because they have to integrate their practices into everything. But it is an awesome thing to still be able to do your sport while here at the academy. We also have club sports. So boxing is a competitive club sport. So you still get to compete against other schools, other colleges. And then we have intramurals, which is a company athletics, and that's at the company level. You just fight. you compete against other cadet companies, and at the end someone gets awarded the slug diamond, if you will. And so that's just kind of, fitness is another pillar. Fitness is our pillar, and we want to make sure everyone is maintaining their physical fitness, and we do that by sports. And so every cadet does a sport. Military journey. So on to our military pillar. This is kind of the layout of how we are developed militarily during the summers. So first, prior to your freshman year, you complete cadet basic training. Traditionally, it's 6 weeks long. This past summer, I had the honor of being the cadet basic training regimental commander, and so I got to help integrate the class of 2024 into West Point. Their beast was only 4 weeks long because of COVID. However, traditionally it is 6. There, you're just learning transferring from a civilian to a cadet. Cadet field training is what follows your rising yearling year, so after your first year here, and that's just where you learn small unit tactics. You stay out at Camp Buckner for 4 weeks. I was a squad leader for CFT, so that was an awesome experience as well, and you learn a lot about the Army and how it goes. Then next, between your COW and your rising cow or rising firsty summers. So you can do a combination of the next following things. So you can do cadet leader development training, which is where it's a 3-week military training on larger unit tactics, I guess. And then we have CTLT, which is where you shadow. You go to some unit. Oconus, you can go to. I was actually about to go to Hawaii prior to COVID. That would have been really cool. But and you get to shadow a PL in a real unit, which is valuable to see what you're about to get into. Then you have your trading detail. Like I mentioned, I actually had the opportunity to do 2. I was a CFT squad leader and then the CBT commander. But that's just where you learn how to actually lead others and help develop the underclasses. And then you have different individual individual advanced development opportunities, whether that's academically, it can be internships, militarily, it can be military schools. So I got to do air assault, which was super cool. That's what this badge is for. Y'all can see it. And then I got to do an internship in DC with the Joint Improvised Threat Defeat Organization, which was also very valuable, and I learned so much, and it was fantastic. So plenty of broadening opportunities here at the Academy. Broadening opportunities. So there's the opportunity to go semester abroad, depending on how many courses you've taken in whatever language you choose. But every cadet does do a language, going back to that holistic development. But Brazil, China, France, Chile, and you can also go to different service academies, Air Force or Navy. So really cool opportunities there. Like I said, internships, IADS, White House, DC, businesses too, not necessarily just DoD, and then the military schools, so Airborne, Air Assault, Georgia Mountain School, really cool things. And sir, that concludes my portion. Thank you for listening. I hope I was pretty helpful in giving the cadet perspective, and I hope all of y'all can be members of the Long Gray Line with me. Thanks, sir.
That was great, Evan. I really appreciate you participating tonight. So everyone, if that was informational or you found some value in that, please give a virtual round of applause for Cadet Walker. All right, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the chat just to make sure that we're all caught up. All right, so all of those great opportunities, they can be yours, and I'm here to give you kind of some of the keys to success and how to progress through the arduous admissions process. All right, so what it takes to join the Long Gray Line. We're seeking well-rounded candidates, holistic candidates, excellent academic ability. We're looking for leadership potential and overall fitness. And so these are some of our eligibility requirements. You must be a U.S. citizen, must be between the ages of 17 and 23 years old the day that you actually enroll, must not be married, and you must not be pregnant or have any legal obligation to support a child. So note that does not say that you cannot have a child, but it says you cannot have a legal obligation. And so there's obviously avenues that you can take to relinquish your legal responsibility temporarily. If West Point is something that you really want to do, I don't want that to be viewed as a hurdle for anyone. All right, and then steps to admission. So you're going to complete the CQ or the candidate questionnaire, and those are some of the sections that you're going to have to fill out. You're going to provide us your PSAT, ACT, or SAT scores, whatever is applicable to you. As I mentioned earlier, we're exercising our text flexible policy. And so any of those scores that you have available, just please provide that during the CQ. And then we'll go ahead and progress to the SSK, which is your second step kit. And so once you complete your CQ, you should receive an email that'll include your C number and your password to access your candidate portal. And on your candidate portal, you'll find the rest of your application requirements. And so as I mentioned, we're looking at the whole candidate. And I want to talk to you a little bit about how we evaluate your competitiveness for the academy. And so, before we get into that, it's important to highlight that in addition to the application, you must be qualified medically and you must receive a nomination. So we'll go over those programs or those processes here in the forthcoming slides. And so as you can see with this pie chart here, 60% of your application is comprised of your GPA and your standardized test. And so it's important for you to be taking those challenging courses and for you to be excelling in those challenging courses because it makes up so much of your actual application. 30% of that evaluation is going to be considered your leadership. We're going to look at your SOEs, or your school official evaluations. And what those essentially are letters of recommendation from your high school teachers. We're going to need 4 of those from you. If you're applying from high school, if you're applying from college, we're going to need 6. And so those 4 subjects will be math, English, science, and then we're going to need a PE SOE from you as well. There's going to be an interview required, and it'll be used to assess your leadership. And then also the extracurricular activities that you participate in will also be used to assess that. And then 10% of that is the CFA, which is the Candidate Fitness Assessment. The Candidate Fitness Assessment is a 6-event test that's used to assess your physical ability. And more information on the CFA can be found on our website. But just a quick once-over. It'll include the modified sit-up, the basketball throw, the shuttle, the 1-mile run, pull-up or the flex arm hang for our female candidates, and the push-up event. The application deadline to have this portion of your application complete is January 31st the following year. All right, so I mentioned the medical qualification, and so you must take and you must pass the DIMER medical evaluation, and so the deadline for that is April 15th. So you have a few more months past your application deadline to become medically qualified. The advice that I would give you in this area would be to start that process as soon as possible. Once you receive your SSK and your medical is opened, go ahead and start reaching out to DIMERB and DIMETS to get your medical process started and schedule your appointments, and just so that you can ensure that process is completed in a timely fashion. If you are disqualified, it's not the end of the road. That doesn't mean that there's all hope is lost. There's actually a waiver process, and that's something that may be considered for our more competitive candidates, or if you've got extenuating circumstances. Those are things that we can work through here in the admissions department, and things that you should definitely engage your admissions officers about if you find yourself in that situation. All right, acquired nomination. So everyone that applies to the academy is eligible for 4 different types of nominations, or congressional nominations. You're eligible for 2 from your state senator, 1 from your congressional rep, and then obviously 1 from the vice president. Each office, they have their own timelines, and so as you are working through your candidate portal, their points of contact will be listed on there for you. And so you're going to want to reach out to their office, because that's a completely separate application process. And again, it is not standardized across the board. And so you have to reach out and find out when their deadlines are, what their requirements are. Some will require interviews. Some will require you to submit your standardized tests and transcripts and things of that nature. So make sure you reach out to your specific congressional representative and your state senators to find out what their requirements are and their deadlines. And then there's also service-connected nominations. And so if you are a child of a career military, you're eligible for that nomination. Sons and daughters of 100% disabled veterans are eligible for a service-connected nomination. If you're an active participant in ROTC or JROTC, you're eligible to receive that nomination. You're going to reach out to your senior Army instructor or your professor of military science to have them complete that for you. Or if you're an enlisted member of the U.S. Army, you're also eligible for a nomination under that criteria. And so if you're in an Air Force JROTC program or a Navy JROTC program, you can still receive a nomination under those, but they have to be honor units of distinction. And so we receive a list of all of those units, and we're able to verify that information. All right, here's some, we call in the Army some free chicken. Here's some more keys to success. As I mentioned, definitely be proactive. Complete your application as early as possible. Verify your deadlines and make sure you're on top of those things and communicating with your admissions officer. And apply to all nomination sources. And so you're eligible to apply for at least 4. Apply to all sources, and you only need 1, but that doesn't mean you only apply for 1, because like I said, you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket. Definitely train for and take the CFA. And so this is my first cycle here, and I've gone through this process. It's almost 1 full rotation. And what I will tell you is that the CFA is definitely a challenging fitness assessment. And so if you've been like most of the country, you've been doing school from home, and traditionally you were probably participating in sports in high school, you haven't actually been afforded that opportunity due to COVID, still get after it and make sure that you're prepared for these events. Because what you don't want to do is wait until the last minute and then find yourself in a situation to where you're struggling to achieve passing scores. Definitely study and prepare for the SAT and ACT. I know we've already answered a few times, and we're tracking that due to COVID, a lot of these tests are being canceled. But definitely keep applying, and under our test flexible policy, you provide those cancellations to us, and then we're able to accept the PSAT. And if you're not able to take the PSAT, that's something that we can discuss, on the case-by-case basis, depending on the competitiveness of your file. Seek opportunities to demonstrate excellence in leadership. And so participate in as many extracurricular activities as possible. Oh, you know what? Let me walk that back a little bit. Participate in activities that interest you, and we're looking for quality over quantity. So don't participate in as many as possible. Participate in the ones that interest you and actually hold, leadership positions in those organizations, and demonstrate that. That's going to carry a lot of weight when it comes down for us to evaluate your competitiveness and your leadership abilities. And definitely local field force volunteers. Reach out to your local field force members. Again, on your candidate portal, you're able to access that information and find out which field force reps are available in your area, and they kind of support you along the applications process. These are our field force volunteers are retired grads, retired military, or just individuals that have an interest in assisting candidates get into the academy. So it's a full-on volunteer force, and they're able to assist you through each of the steps of your application, CFA, and things like that. So definitely leverage that resource, and it will definitely help. It's a competitive advantage. Again, I want to highlight that the deadline for your application is January 31st, and your medical application deadline is April 15th. All right, and so these are some of the tough questions that you must ask yourself before you apply to the academy. And so we're definitely offering a lot. There's plenty of opportunity here, but we're also going to demand a lot from you. And so some of the questions like, are you a leader? Are you mentally tough? Are you ready to be challenged? And are you actually interested in the career as an Army officer? And so as Cadet Walker mentioned, at the end of this 47-month experience, you're all going to be commissioned to active duty officers, second lieutenants in the United States Army. And so that's a huge undertaking, and it's something that you shouldn't take lightly. And it's also something that you shouldn't shy away from if it's something you really want to do. But I definitely ask you to look deep inside and make that informed decision. So you being here tonight is just a step in the right direction to get as much information about the academy and what we have to offer. SLE, so Summer Leaders Experience. As you can see under the what, it's a fast-paced program. It's about a week long of academic classes, military training, physical fitness training. You opportunity to participate in intramural athletics, and you get a better understanding of what the cadet life is like. And so if you're still on the fence after receiving the information from this event tonight, you can definitely apply for SLE. And as it stands currently, that's supposed to still take place. You're applying right now from January through March of your junior year, and it's actually supposed to kick off for 1 week in the month of June. So, and the way that you apply for that is the same way that you would apply to attend the academy. You fill out your CQ. There's going to be a section on there that asks if you're interested in SLE, and if you are, you're going to check that block, and that's all you have to do at this time. Once we require more information from you, you'll receive additional correspondence on that front. Again, under availability, I know it says you must have your standardized test score submitted prior to the consideration. Again, we understand that we're operating under the test flexible policy, and so continue to interact with your admissions officer, and then we'll work through that on a case-by-case basis. All right, and definitely last but not least, stay connected. Follow us online at West Point Admissions at all of those platforms, and we'll be sure to respond in a timely fashion. You can reach out to your admissions officers. If you look on the West Point Admissions page, all of our contact information is located on there. Definitely sign up for SLE. If that's something that, if West Point is something that you're on the fence about and you're not completely sure that you want to make that commitment, SLE is a great opportunity to kind of dip your toe in the military lifestyle or just the West Point lifestyle and see if it's the place for you. And so hopefully this has been helpful and informative. So I'll go through some of the questions here, and we'll see if we can get you guys some of these answered. All right, Ethan, I see you asked, how can you get involved in special forces while in West Point? And so special forces is going to be one of those special considerations to where you can apply directly to that. It's not a specific branch. That's something you're going to look forward to after you've been in the Army for a few years, and then you get that opportunity to transfer into the special forces. But I mean, while you're here, just Captain Green's school of thought. If that's something you're really interested in, I'd probably consider branching infantry just to get some of the familiarity in that operations branch. All right, I'll stand by for a few more minutes for any additional questions. And if there's a question that you ask and it doesn't get answered here on this live, we'll continue to monitor the chat afterwards, and we'll get someone to respond. Let's see. I see Barbara asked about 6 minutes ago, what is the advantage for Army service for USMA versus ROTC? That's a great question. And so, full disclosure, I'm actually not a West Point graduate. I am a product of ROTC. And so, primarily, there are three major commissioning sources for the United States Army. You got USMA, obviously. You got the Reserve Officer Training Corps. And you got OCS. So, OCS is going to be reserved for soldiers that decide they want to transition from the enlisted corps to the officer corps, and that's an opportunity you can take advantage of once you're actually enlisted. West Point, ROTC is a very unique experience, and for me personally, I honestly didn't even know about West Point until maybe my freshman year, enrolled at Henderson State University, and so a lack of awareness is what I would attribute that to. And so that's another reason why I feel like it's extremely important what we do here in diversity admissions is generating that awareness and making sure that everyone understands the opportunities that are available to them. But in terms of advantages, that's going to be specific to the person. Thinking back on that, I honestly can't say that I was prepared for the rigors of USMA. And so my ROTC program specifically was great for me because it gave me that opportunity to experience life at a civilian institution. And so to take regular classes, go hang out on spring breaks, and those are things that you can do at USMA as well. But again, I'm from Arkansas, and so traveling and electing to go to USMA, that's a huge leap and a huge undertaking for me at that time. And again, I personally don't feel like I was mature enough for the academy at that age, and so ROTC just gave me that opportunity to kind of figure some things out without immediately jumping into that full-on military structure, if you will. So I hope that was beneficial to you, Barbara. If it was, please give me a thumbs up or a virtual applause. All right, I'm not seeing any new questions, so I'll go ahead and end the live right now. Again, it's been a pleasure to host you all tonight. And again, we'll stick on for a few minutes to see if there's any last minute questions that pop up. We'll answer them for you there. So with that, go Army, beat Navy.